very excited to talk to you. Rose, you said something that I want you to unpack for me, which is that people are tired of the algorithm deciding everything. That got an amen from both of us. Tell us what it would look like to not have the algorithm deciding everything.
Absolutely. We are used to being trapped in one algorithm that's controlled by a small group of people, and they decide what we see, what type of content gets taken away, who to promote. And decentralization just means a more democratic way where users get to vote with their feet. So on Blue Sky, there are about 50,000 different feeds that have been created by other users. So there are feeds that are like either about cats, we have about maybe 5 cat feeds, more than 200 Swiftie feeds, and various other feeds that are either organized chronologically or based on what your followers are liking. And you can even use a politics filter to turn off politics or turn it back on depending on what your mood is that day. And so you actually get to interact with real people and have fun conversation again in a safe environment.
So what is that like? I mean, it just... You know, I mean, because I'll be honest, X is a hellscape. It is not even, it's that. So what is it that people find out of the gate so appealing? I get that the backside, I can sort of gear information and folks to what I like, but overall, what is the goal here for folks to really, what kind of experience are you looking for the user to have at the end of the day?
We're looking for users to decide for themselves what choice they want to have. It's about having user choice again. And so today in our world, we have social media that looks a lot like a small group of people who decide everything, what your moderation experience is, no matter where you are in the world. Who you get to interact with, and most times it's either biggest brands or the most polarizing posts, because at the end of the day, most social media platforms are trying to win over advertisers and not the end user. And so what we've done at Blue Sky is we have prioritized the end user as our primary citizen on our platform. And so what we care about is, does the everyday user with only a few hundred followers, do they have a great experience? And that's what's happening, is they're actually meeting real people. People with only a few hundred followers are getting hundreds of likes on their posts because they're no longer tied to an algorithm that's not promoting them because they're not paying for ads.
Rose, one of the big challenges, of course, for all social media platforms now is the concept of moderation, specifically how you fact check, what your responsibility is to those who spread propaganda, disinformation, misinformation, while also cultivating and allowing for an environment that welcomes various perspectives and point of views. How are you at Blue Sky walking that tightrope?
Well, I just heard you guys talk about what the responsibility is to women. And I think, first of all, there's so many women on social media platforms, and most of these platforms are run by men. Blue Sky is run by 2 women, me as the COO and Jay Graber, who's the CEO. And I think fundamentally, one of the biggest differences is we've just put safety as a priority. And what does that look like? It means last year when we had invite codes, we didn't open it up because we wanted to have a stronger moderation team. And we brought over Aaron Rodericks, who used to be the head of election integrity at Twitter under Jack, to Blue Sky and lead trust and safety here at Blue Sky. And then there's our stackable moderation approach, and it goes back to, again, user choice. There are so many things in between intolerance, hate speech, and people having a bad experience that isn't governed on most social media platforms. There is deepfakes, rude posts, speculative information. And so on most other platforms, there's nothing you can do about those types of content. On Blue Sky, any user can go and create a labeler, and that can sit on top of our moderation service, where if you don't want to see political content, there's a labeler that hides all of that content for you, and all you have to do is subscribe to that. And so it's this type of approach that gives power back to the people, that allows social media to evolve and change without waiting on us a smaller company, a handful of people to go make that change for you.
And then there's always the one of my favorite, the block, which I've already had to do. I had one person who thought they were just going to bring all that ish over to Blue Sky and start talking crazy crap. And I went, the block. And it was such a good feeling. It just, because it was such an outlier. And that's the one thing I will say. In the time that I've been using it, that stood out. It was not the norm. It wasn't being regurgitated and pushed towards me because I had one, how should I put this politely, crazy person say something wild and stupid, and then that opened up a cavalcade of other crazy persons saying wild and stupid stuff. Not fact-based, not reliable information, pushing lies and distortion, that I did feel a little sense of control, even in that very simple thing, because my feed was then clear. It didn't, it wasn't like this inundation. So I think that experience is something that's important. You talk about, in fact, Jay Graber, the CEO, talks about how Blue Sky rose out of Twitter's ashes to challenge X and Threads. If someone bought or if the Blue Sky company went down, everything is open source. She said, what happened to Twitter couldn't happen to us in the same ways, because you would always have the option to immediately move without having to start over. Talk about that as a founding principle for Blue Sky.
We say that we're billionaire proof, and oftentimes people are like, does this mean that there are no billionaires involved with Blue Sky? And what we mean by that is that you don't have to trust us. We have built Blue Sky assuming that the future or that the company in the future might be a future adversary. What does that mean? It means that if someone buys Blue Sky, or if we're no longer here, we want to make sure that Blue Sky is still open and that you as a user own your data and you can move to green sky or yellow sky. If Blue Sky overnight changes, or we change your experience with ads in a way that you absolutely hate, you can absolutely just go somewhere else. And so when we say trust us, we mean trust our infrastructure, trust the process. And that's a much more democratic way for us to build social online.
Okay, I have a question from one of our producers, which she wants to know what we are calling posts on Blue Sky. And also we'd like to know about verification.
When our team talks about making a post, we call it post. We know that other users have come up with other names.
That's
but we'll
original. I like that. That is very original of you.
But yes, verification is something that keeps coming up. And what we've done so far with verification is we will label impersonators as within a few days. And to give you an idea, Twitter's verification system took about a couple days to a few weeks to get people verified. So what we're doing is we're labeling impersonators. And then we have a new way of verifying in a way that gives you the control. So you can use a website domain as your username. So MSNBC can be at msnbc.com. And so why is that exciting? It's because in the future you can click that, maybe it'll go to msnbc.com. And so we really want to send people from Blue Sky to the open web. We think that Blue Sky is just the lobby, and there's so many interesting experiences to discover, versus on most other social platforms, they're trying to de-promote links. If you post links, you get punished, versus on Blue Sky, we encourage everyone to post links because it's all about content. Let's share what's happening today. And you go and use the Blue Sky to go discover and rabbit hole the rest of the internet.